Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sephora. I'm an attorney and a life coach, and today's video is going to be all about setting proper goals. As you know, I am very big on goal setting because if you don't have goals and you are flying blind, you'll be heading nowhere. You will be heading nowhere. So this video is going to be teaching you how to set goals, what kinds of goals to set, and even give you some tips on working towards those goals. So if you are a fellow ambitious woman, welcome. You're a fellow transformative woman, welcome. Make sure you subscribe to my channel down below. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok, Sephora Gray, SYRESQ for short. And let's jump into the video. So the very first thing that we're going to be talking about today is actually what types of goals you should set. You probably know this already, right? People talk about them all the time. You have your long-term goals, you have your short-term goals, and I'm going to be using the same terminology. However, I may categorize them a little bit differently just because I think short-term is like, okay, you can really get this done like almost like now, right? And long-term is something that you got to work your way up to, like typically some time has to pass by. And so we're just gonna categorize it as short-term is 3 years and under, and long-term goals is anything above 3 years. And so if you have a goal that you want to achieve in a month, that's a short-term goal. If you want to achieve it in a year, likewise a short-term goal. So those are just the two definitions that we're going to go with it for the purposes of this video. And those are also the two things that I want you to do. So the very first step that you are going to take is identify your long-term goals. Now, take out a pen and paper, iPad, whatever it is you use to write down, take notes, whatever it may be, and start thinking about your long-term goals. Again, these should be things that are over 3 years. It'll take you over 3 years to achieve. And so some concrete examples, for example, if I was in undergrad, or when I was an undergrad, one of my long-term goals was I want to become a lawyer. By definition, that's a long-term goal because I had to apply to and get into law school and graduate and pass the bar, which is at minimum a 3-year process, right? And so by definition, that was going to be a long-term goal of mine. And so that's what I mean. So maybe you say, I want to run a 7-figure business. That's typically not something that happens overnight, typically not something that happens, even in a year. And so maybe that will be a long-term goal for you. If you say, I want to run a 6-figure business. In my opinion, that is a short-term goal. I guess maybe it depends on how many 6 figures you're talking, but you can definitely reach a 6-figure business in a year's time, maybe even less, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want you to do is separate your long-term goals out. Have those written down. Then we're going to transition over to our short-term goals. With your short-term goals, these are going to be your intermediate goals or your stepping stones that are ultimately going to lead you to your long-term goals. And so that's why you had to identify your long-term goals first. So for example, if we go back to my previous example and pretend I was still in undergrad and I say I want to be an attorney, my intermediate steps would be raising my GPA, applying to law school, getting into a good law school, right? Those would be like my intermediate steps. Maybe your long-term goal is something that is, I want to be the bossest babe that I could be. I want to be the most successful, literally why you're here on the channel. I want to level up my life and just be the most successful version of myself. And I'm still in the process of defining that. If you need help with that, definitely let me know and check out coaching opportunities, right? But maybe that's your goal. And so that's your long-term goal. And so your intermediate goals would be, okay, in 2 months' time, I want to change my outer appearance. In 4 months' time, I want to have change my mindset, change my belief systems. I want to have completely reworked how I think about things. In 7 months' time, I want to change my surroundings. I want to be living in a luxury apartment building, right? So that's what I mean when I'm talking about stepping stones and using your short-term goals to get you to your long-term goals. A couple of tips when you're setting these short-term goals and long-term goals is to think about things that are very specific and detailed, and so your goal is not abstract. It is a goal that you can actually measure, or you will actually know and you can say, I have achieved this, both for your long-term and for your short-term goals, okay? So once you've got these goals written down as your long-term goals and your short-term goals, I want you to start asking yourself, what outside factors are affecting these goals? What outside factors are playing a part on the goals that I am choosing. And what I mean by that is oftentimes we will allow outside factors such as our significant other, our parents, what we see other people around us doing, our friends, our family, to play a heavy swaying factor in the goals that we see for ourselves. And while there is not inherently anything wrong with that, your goal should be yours. You should be aiming for something because you want to do it. Because when it's something that you want to do, you are more likely to achieve it because you're more likely to put in the work to get there. And so if you say, I want to be an accountant, and so you go off and be an accountant, but you don't really want to be an accountant, or I ask you why you want to be an accountant, and you say, well, both my parents are accountants and they told me they want me to be accountants, right? And so I'm going to be an accountant, but once I start doing that, I'm really going to go off and start my own business. That's not your goal then, that's your parents' goal, right? Start your business right away. Why not start your business now? Because that's really what you want to do. And so that's this process that I'm having you go through now, is really take a look at your goals and ask yourself, is this what you want, or is this what somebody else wants? Again, if you have trouble, if you need help with that, let me know. A couple of ways to help you or guide you in this process to ask yourself, would doing this really make me happy? Would doing this really make you happy? Like, sit down and be honest with yourself. And this goes back to the whole self-reflection idea when you are on your path to leveling up and changing your life, is you have to be able to self-reflect and be honest with yourself. Ask yourself if becoming that accountant would really make you happy. Ask yourself if going to law school, if going to med school, if becoming a doctor, if becoming an attorney, if even like running a business, running the family business, whatever it may be, ask yourself if it would really make you happy. Ask yourself if you really want to do that. And if the answer is no, then that's probably not your goal. That's probably someone else's goal that they are pushing onto you. And the other thing to take into account is, what are you seeing on the outside that's affecting the goals that you have for yourself? Because when you see people all around you achieving these different things, you can start to think, I want that, I want that, I want that. And without that self-reflection, you're really just gonna kind of soak up everything without really taking the time to say, do I really want that? Or is it just because I see that somebody else has it? And so that's this next step, right? After you've got your goals written down, it's really sitting down and going through this self-reflection. When you go through this, your goals might change, and that's okay. So write down your new goals after you've gone through this process of self-reflection on the goals you've originally written down. Okay, so once you've got your new set of goals written down, we're gonna go into preparing and planning. So that's actually beginning to put your goals into motion. So no, this process does not stop once you've written down your goals and you're like, oh, phew, I'm done. Like, I've got my goals written down, now I can get back to living my regular life. Absolutely not. You need to set a plan in place. And I'm gonna say this now, although you are sitting down and making a plan and preparing to reach your goals, you are still going to keep an open mind. You are still going to have this open mindset and be open to God sending you different ways to reach your goals, right? Acknowledging the fact that your goals can be reached in many different ways and your plan is only one of many. But sitting down and making that plan is an action that you are taking to show yourself, to show your brain that you are serious and you are willing and ready to put in the work to reach those goals. So I'm just gonna give you an example, and I actually have my computer here, so you're gonna see me looking down, but I'm gonna give you an example of like what an ideal or like what a plan may look like for you, right? So let's say you wanted to start a service business and it's your ultimate goal to run a $500,000 service business in the next 5 years, right? So that's your long-term goal. And when you say service business, let's just say it's a meal prep service business, right? So your long-term goal is running this great meal prep or like chef, catering, whatever service business in the next 5 years, long term. So let's break that down. So each year you're gonna need to make $100,000 so that in the 5 years you make 500,000. Each month then you're gonna need to make about $8,334, right? So you broke that down into months, you broke it down into years, and those are your stepping stones to your long-term goal, right? Okay, so that's kind of your overarching plan, right? So now let's get even more specific and talk about the what. What are you going to do to hit those goals, right? Maybe you want to run a meal plan subscription where you get clients and you meal plan, you meal prep for them 5 meals a week, and you charge your clients $200 a month for this meal plan subscription service, right? Which is relatively cheap actually. But if you did that and you have a set of recipes every single week, you would need about 40 clients to hit your just around $8,300 a month, right? All right, so if you like that idea, get to work on creating that meal prep service where you're meal prepping, and because you've got that set recipe, you're probably cooking in batch and then literally just meal prepping it, right? And it's a subscription service, so it's that recurring revenue. And so you're bringing that money in every single month, and boom, you're on your way to reaching your goals. Maybe you don't want to do that, or maybe you want to do that in conjunction with something else. And so you're like, hey, like I'll do a home chef service. And maybe with that, you serve lunch and dinner 5 days a week, and you're charging $1,200 a month for that, right? Because it's a home chef service, $1,200 a month, lunch and dinner. And if you're doing that, then you only need 7 clients, right? You only need 7 clients to hit your goal, which is very doable, right? And that's also part of what you're going to be training your mind here, is that everything you are writing down is doable. Everything you are writing down and coming up with is something that you can do and achieve, okay? And then maybe you want something else to add on to all of these. Maybe you want to do all 3, maybe you want to pick 1 or 2, right? And so maybe you create a recipe book and you charge $35 for your recipe book of 50 recipes or 100 recipes, whatever, and you sell it for $35, and you need to sell $239 a month to reach your goal, right? So that was just an example, but the example that I gave you there is essentially to say, create your plan and come up with the ideas of the different ways that you can hit your goals, right? Because if you don't have this, you're kind of, again, you're just creating your goals and just leaving them be. Now, along with this, of course, comes the mindset changes, the mindset shifts, the affirmations, and actually putting in the work. So you've got your what, but then you need to do your how. How are you going to put this into action? Where are you going to sell? Where are you going to advertise? Who are you going to talk to, right? So getting all of that together. That's just an example of a service business. And I'll give you one more example of a non-service business, but just where your goal is. You want to be the bossiest babe you can be. You want to be the utmost, most empowered and successful version of yourself. You are an ambitious woman. You're a transformative woman. That is why you're on this channel, right? And if that is your goal, that's less, okay, I need to sell a certain amount, or I need to reach a certain amount. And so maybe here your incremental goals or your short-term goals is work on your inner self, work on your outer self, adopt new habits, right? Those are your incremental goals, and you're setting them by month that you want to achieve them. So then your what here was like, okay, if I want to work on my inner self to attract more money to me, then I need to be more generous, right? So I need to work on my generosity. That's a what. Maybe you need to adopt new habits, and that's, I need to carve out 1 hour a day for myself where I'm solely focusing on bettering myself. I'm reading, I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm doing whatever it is to really make myself be that better person. And then you're also being patient and rewarding yourself for small achievements, right? So that there's so many different what's that you can use on your way to leveling up, right? And I have other videos where I talk about the different ways for you to level up and different things that you can do and choose as your small incremental goals. But the point here is, again, you're setting a plan so that you're ultimately on your way to achieving that long-term goal. And now, although I separated out these two, it's just so I could give you 2 examples. You can very well combine them. You can combine anything you want, right? I have clients who have multiple goals. I have multiple goals. In fact, if you're on this channel, you probably have multiple goals, right? But the point is to get into this mindset of planning and preparation so that you can reach your goals much quicker. Okay, so once you've got those 3 things done, you've set your goals, you've reworked your goals, you've created a plan, you've prepared, you're going to set your path forward. And this involves, again, like asking yourself how you're going to get these things done. One thing that I always do here is find people to help me to reach my goals. I talked about it on my channel before. I've had a career coach, business coach, all of the above, mentors to help me to reach my goals, and I stand, you know, those are one of the best things. So that's essentially what you're going to do, is find out who can help you reach your goals much quicker. You know, who can help you forge this path as you continue on and work your way up to the ultimate level of success that you need to be. Who can help you change your mindset? Who can help you with the manifestation, with your affirmation, with your planning, with your goal setting? Who can help you do these things so that you can reach your goals much quicker? You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And I think I've said this before, I do not trade time for money. Why am I gonna spend a year trying to figure something out that I can pay someone to teach me how to do in 30 minutes, right? You know, and so, like, again, just thinking about the different ways that you can use or find people to help you get to where you are going. the last thing that I'm going to talk about in this goal setting video is I want you guys to understand that this entire process involves you already becoming the person that you were aiming to be. It involves you becoming and being that person in present time, in present day. Everything that I've taught you here in this video are things that you can implement right now. There's no need for you to wait. You don't need anything but a pen and paper and maybe internet to do some research to find someone to help you. But hey, I'm right here. If if you're interested, make sure you click the link in my bio to view my website and see coaching opportunities. And if you like my content, if you are a fellow ambitious woman, transformative woman looking to level up and change your life to become the most empowered and successful version of yourself, make sure you hit subscribe and follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to my newsletter so you get daily tips to your inbox. I will see you guys in my next one. Thanks so much for watching.